Have you ever noticed how you feel incredibly drawn to someone who seemingly makes you feel bad about yourself, like you're not good enough, not worthy of love, or not deserving of happiness? Despite this toxic dynamic, you find yourself constantly seeking validation from them, even if it means sacrificing your own emotional well-being? Maybe you've experienced this in a past relationship, or perhaps you're struggling with a certain family member or friend who consistently drains your energy but inexplicably holds a piece of your heart. In this video, we're going to dive into the unseen pattern of attraction that drives people to seek love and acceptance in all the wrong places, and explore the psychological mechanisms that make us stay in these toxic dynamics despite our better judgment. We often mistake the intense feelings we have towards someone as love or passion, when in reality, it's our deep-seated insecurity seeking validation through their acceptance. The person who consistently checks in with others to make sure they are being admired or appreciated is often unconsciously searching for a fix to their own low self-worth issue. Those who find themselves repeatedly pursuing relationships with people who are emotionally unavailable are usually trying to prove to themselves that they are worthy of love, despite the risks of getting hurt. Our tendency to idealize someone we're attracted to is often a coping mechanism for our own feelings of inadequacy. We elevate them to an unrealistic standard, only to bring ourselves back down to earth when the relationship inevitably crumbles. The need for control in any relationship is often rooted in a fear of rejection or abandonment, stemming from a deep-seated insecurity that we're not enough, which in turn drives us to manipulate others into giving us the validation we so desperately crave. Ultimately, our inability to break free from these self-destructive patterns of behavior is a testament to how far we've allowed our insecurities to define us, and how much we're willing to compromise our own self-worth for the fleeting high of being desired by someone else. When we explore the complex interplay between attraction and manipulation, it's essential to acknowledge the role of insecurity in driving our desires, often unconsciously. Deep down, we're all searching for validation, that elusive stamp of approval that affirms our worth and value. For some, this need for validation becomes a vulnerability that others exploit to manipulate our desires. It's striking how people often use their insecurities as a shield to justify their own self-deception, allowing them to ignore the red flags and warning signs that should otherwise signal trouble in their relationships. Manipulation is often a subtle yet insidious form of control, where one person uses their influence or charm to shape another's perceptions and actions, often without them even realizing it. What's particularly pernicious about insecure-driven manipulation is that it preys on our deepest fears, exploiting our anxieties and vulnerabilities to create a power dynamic that can be incredibly difficult to escape. At the root of this pattern of attraction lies a profound disconnect between our ego's craving for validation and our authentic desire for genuine connection. A disconnect that leaves us exposed to the whims of others and vulnerable to the very manipulation we're trying to avoid. When we're driven by insecurity, we're not seeking connection, we're seeking validation, and that's a fundamentally different thing. At its core, our desires are shaped by a deep-seated need for control, and insecurity provides the perfect cover for this drive. We're far more likely to be drawn to people who reflect our deepest fears, not our highest aspirations, because in that moment, we're not actually attracted to them, we're attracted to the sense of security they offer. Insecurity masquerades as sensitivity, but in reality it's a form of emotional narcissism, where our needs, our feelings, become the central focus of every interaction. The ego's greatest trick is convincing us that our insecurities are somehow endearing or relatable, when in fact, they are a cry for help. Ultimately, our desires are not as driven by what we want as what we're afraid to live without, and that's a profound distinction that requires us to question everything we think we know about ourselves. When people use insecurity to manipulate their desires, they often do so as a means of compensating for their own deep-seated feelings of inadequacy and a pervasive need for validation. Underlying their tactics of control and exploitation lies a profound fear of being unwanted, of being unloved, and of being invisible in a world that can be harsh and unforgiving. The ego, with all its fragile grandeur, demands to be fed a constant stream of reassurance and praise, so as to maintain the illusion of its own worth and significance. In their pursuit of validation, individuals may employ a range of cunning tactics, from flattery to intimidation, in order to elicit the desired reaction from their partners. But what drives this relentless quest for validation, after all? At its core, insecurity is not simply a personal failing, but rather a manifestation of a deeper existential anxiety, a primal fear of rejection and abandonment that underscores the human experience. The line between attraction and manipulation is blurred when individuals use their insecurities to create a sense of power over their partners, effectively trading one form of vulnerability for another in a desperate bid for control. When we're caught up in the illusion of a relationship, we often fail to recognize the subtle yet insidious ways in which insecurity drives the dynamics, creating a web of manipulation that perpetuates our deepest desires while simultaneously feeding our sense of inadequacy. Insecurity is not a weakness, but a cleverly disguised strategy for obtaining validation, for it allows us to bypass authentic connection and instead latch onto the fleeting high of someone else's affirmation. The person who uses insecurity to manipulate their desires, weak, they are cunning, leveraging their self-perceived shortcomings to control the narrative, to dictate the terms of the relationship, and to secure the validation they so desperately crave. Deep down, many of us are driven by a primal fear of being unloved, of being discarded, of being invisible, and will go to great lengths to avoid this existential terror, even if it means sacrificing our agency, our integrity, and our very selves. When we're drawn to someone who feeds our ego, who strokes our insecurity, we're not just being seduced by their charms, we're being lured by the promise of validation, of acceptance, of being loved not for who we are, but for who we think we need to be. Self-deception is the great enabler of this destructive pattern, allowing us to convince ourselves that we're worthy of love, that we deserve to be treated better, that we're the victim, rather than the willing participant in our own psychological manipulation. In conclusion, understanding the unseen pattern of attraction can be a powerful tool for personal growth and self-awareness. As we've explored today, many of us inadvertently use insecurity to manipulate our desires, often to our detriment. Before you go, take a moment to reflect on whether you've fallen victim to this pattern. Like this video if it resonated with you, share your insights in the comments below, and consider subscribing for more in-depth explorations of human psychology and personal development.